With Ambrose Mendy. How are you, sir?
I'm very well, thanks. Yourself?
Yeah. Are you happy with the way that press conference went today?
Yeah, it was important, obviously, to make a press release. The bill in Liverpool, November 22nd, Bellew cleverly, more and more is being added to it. But most importantly, from James' point of view, the announcement was that he will take a fight during the interim between having been mandated as the mandatory challenger to Carl Froch, from that date to the last possible date it can happen, that's February 28th. It's important to be active, and we had to be really, really careful about how we decided who James was going to fight. People are saying it's a big risk, it's a tough opponent. Of course it is, but the last thing you want to do is to underestimate an opponent, whereas this level of opponent you will only overestimate him. And in any event, it replicates in itself the task that James got ahead of him, because be under no illusions, James couldn't give a monkey's who he has to beat to become IBF super middleweight champion. The reason he doesn't give a monkey's is because James is chasing history. He wants to become the first British Olympic boxing gold medalist to go on and become world professional champion. You think about a long and illustrious history, it's never, ever, ever happened.
Amazing.
Never happened. Yeah. So, with all due respect to Carl Froch, James is more interested in the title. If Carl Froch gives the title up, so be it. James will fight the mandatory contender. And have you any idea who this guy is? He's a 6'2" Mexican, managed by Bob Arum, promoted by Top Rank. He has 29 fights, 29 wins and 24 KOs. 24 KOs. Is James batting an eyelid about fighting him? No, James Degale's ready to fight anybody and everybody. When you're a world champion, you must be prepared to fight anybody. And the best criteria is you get well paid.
Most definitely.
The other testing criteria is if you're asked to fight somebody who perhaps commercially is not as attractive. Nevertheless, that comes with the rain. You've got to do it. Rainy some days, sweet on sunny days. From Carl Froch's point of view, his behaviour is deplorable. Absolutely. He's like a dictator. This is what I want, or the best word is a diva, because he really, really is. Who the hell is he? Listen, I managed the great Nigel Benn. Nigel couldn't give a monkey's who he was fighting. Could not care less. What he was. How much am I getting paid, and what day am I getting paid on? Okay, now with his trainer, let's work out a strategy to beat this, whoever it was that was in front of him. I struggle to try to balance my respect for Carl Froch in being a truly great fighter and his decision making now. I say the same as James. You're on it, you're champion, you defend. If not, with great show of humility, call a press conference and announce your retirement. Or just keep the WBA title, give up the IBF, and James will sign to fight you in a unification next summer. We've even got the date booked at Wembley.
Right. And I know your experience, and you're a respected man in boxing. In your heart of hearts, do you think that fight happens with James Degale and Carl Froch?
No. But I've got a bet. Team Degale, I've got a bet with Matchroom. They say it is going to happen. But what's happening? We're getting on with things during the interim. James gets fully focused for this fight. He fights on the 22nd. Carl Froch will be doing the inter-round summary and everything else. And you can bet your life, you can expect it. Now, James will tell Carl Froch, get up in his ring now and tell the world what you're going to do.
Right. And the current fight James is scheduled for.
Marco Antonio Periban.
Is that a decision you took lightly? Were you in agreement with Eddie in an instant?
In fact, James and Jim gave the dictate to Eddie. Bring an opponent, get the toughest one you can. Because remember, this is the fight before James either fights Ramirez for the vacant title. and I've just given you his CV, or fighting Carl Froch. You don't want to get soft on it. You know, you go soft on it, the guy comes, goes into a shell, you know, people are booing and this, that and the other because they know he's just, why do it? You may as well have complex sparring. What this is to get James into that frame, you know, and because on a world-class level, James has been on, you know, maybe 2 years, you know, since he first showed signs that he can perform at a world level consistently and successfully. So we want to make sure we don't trip ourselves up. And in this instance, Jim is perfectly happy, James is perfectly happy, Eddie's perfectly happy.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I think James gets doesn't get the respect he deserves on the front that people forget. It was very injury prone after turning professional.
And on it, I promise you now, James' injuries, it will all come out one day, just how bad they were. What I can promise you now is completely injury free. He's been up at St George's for God knows how long. He has a totally clean bill of health.
Super. Ambrose, thank you for your time.
Pleasure's mine.